Hi everyone, welcome to Smart Semester's Python programming playlist. In the previous video, we have discussed about what are functions in Python, what is the importance of having functions in Python, and four different types of functions in Python. Among four different types, in this video, we will discuss about two important types of functions. First one is user defined functions, and the second one is built in functions. Let's start with user defined functions. A user defined function is a function that is created by the programmer using the def keyword to perform a specific operation. These functions help in organizing code and reusing logic whenever required. Based on the presence of inputs, as I said, inputs can be there or a function have no inputs and outputs. A function can either return the values or do not return the values. Based on this presence of inputs and outputs, user defined functions can be divided into four types: no input, no output, there will be input but no output, there will be some functions with no input but they give output, and functions having both input and output. First, let's start with no input, no output type. In this type of function, the function does not take any parameters and also does not return any value. It simply performs an operation when it is called. Now, let's define one function which has no input and no output. To define a function, we have to write keyword def. Let's say our function performs addition. So, function name is add. Since we are talking about no input, empty parenthesis, it does not take any input and no output. Let's say we define a variable a that is storing value 10 and variable b storing value 20. Since our function is add, we print the value of a and b, a plus b. How we call this function? We have to call this like this. So this is our small Python program. As I said in the previous video, there will be no main function in Python. Any statement which is not part of any block or function will be treated as body of the main function. In this small code, this statement falls under the body of the main function. So program execution starts from here. What is the first line of the main function? Add. We are calling a function called add. So control goes to the add function. Let this be the main memory wherever Python getting executed, and this is the main function. By default it will be there, we don't define it, we don't declare it. This main function is calling the add function. Within the add function, we are defining two variables a and b. A and b. A is pointing to address, let's say 2000, which is storing value 10, and b is pointing to an address, let's say 3000, which is storing value 20. If you don't know how this memory works in Python program while it is getting executed, please refer to the previous videos where I explained how Python gets executed from the memory point of view. I have explained, you can refer to those videos. So local variables a and b will be created and their values will be stored at memory locations 2000 and 3000 respectively. Third statement is we are printing the value of a plus b. So output will be 30. Now, since we are at the last line of the function, the control goes back to the point from where the call has been made. Once we come out of any function, the stack frame created to that function will get destroyed. Even the memory allocated to the variables will also get destroyed. Now control comes back to the main function. After in the main function, there are no any statements further, so our program will get terminated. So add is a function which has no input and also which is returning nothing. It just performed addition operation. That's it. Next type is functions having input and no output. In this type, the function accepts input values from the user through parameters, but it does not return anything. It processes the input and usually displays the result directly. Let's say we are again defining a function called add. Since it has to take input, let's say two variables a and b. We are printing the value of a and b after the addition. So when we call that function, we have to pass two values because here we defined two parameters a and b. If you just call like this add, it will throw an error saying arguments are expected. So we have to pass two values. Since we have two parameters here, we have to pass two values. So what will happen now? When you call this function, 10 will get stored in variable a, 20 will get stored in variable b, and sum of a and b is printed as 30. Control of execution will come back to the main function. Our program will get terminated. This is the second type. We are having input but no output. Third type is no input but we will have output. Here the function does not take any parameters but it returns a value after performing some operation. Now let's see the third type of function, no input. So our function will take no input. We declare the values within the function as 10 and 20, storing in variables a and b. We have to give some output. This function should return some output. So we have to use return keyword. What should we return from this function? We should return sum of a and b. And then we call that function. Since this function is returning something, so we have to store that value. To store that value, we have to declare a variable and we will assign the value returned by this function to this variable. And then we print the value of c. Now it is very interesting from the memory point of view. See, this is the main function Python creates by itself. Any statement which is outside block or function will fall under the main function. So we are c equals to add. We are calling a function called add which has no input. Add. Within the add, we have two variables a and b pointing to memory locations such that they are storing values 10 and 20 respectively. And the third statement is a return. What should we return? The sum of a and b. The sum of 10 plus 20 is 30. Let's say it is stored at some memory location. For sure, the output of any arithmetic operation will be stored in one random memory location. Let's say at address 4000, value of a plus b is stored and that is 30. Now we have to return that value. We directly doesn't return the value 30. Instead we return the value 4000. So whenever we encounter return keyword within the body of the function, you should note that it is the time where the control of execution leave that function. If any statements are placed after this return statement, return keyword will won't get executed. Directly control of execution goes back to the point from where the call has been made. Now we are returning the address at where the result of a plus b is stored. We are returning the address 4000. That 4000 will get stored in variable c. Now c of main function, this stack frame will get deleted. The c variable of the main function now points to this memory address, that is 4000. We are printing the value of c at 4000. What is the value stored? 30. The output will be 30. So we are not giving the input, but we are getting the output after performing some operation. This is the third type. And final type is a function having input and giving output. In this type, the function takes input values as parameters and returns a result after processing them. This is one of the most commonly used types of functions in programming. You can try this out with an example by yourself. Now that we understand user defined functions, let's look at another important category called built in functions. Built in functions or functions that are already available in Python. They are predefined and can be used directly without writing their definitions. When we say user defined functions, we have to write their body, we have to define them. But built in functions are already available in Python. We can readily use them without writing their definitions. Some of the examples include print. We usually use this function to display some output. So we are using this function, but we are not writing its body. It is already available in Python. Such functions whose body is readily available and can be used without writing the definitions are known as built-in functions. Most commonly used built-in functions is print function, input function, which is used to take the input from the user. In the next video, we will discuss about types of arguments available in Python. Thank you.